uh, authentically aligning with love. And do we believe it?
Yeah, the question I'm asking is, am I um, am I intentionally engaging with the believing? Or am I just rushing through that step?
Mm. That was deep. Mm.
Because I realize once it gets into those stages, I'm not working alone, which is kind of what we were talking about a couple of days ago about being an agent for divine intention.
Mm.
Is believing part of my being, a large part of my being?
And there's a big pressure, but in our culture, right, that says you're either on the path or you're off it.
Yeah, that rings to me to be not true.
Right, exactly. But it doesn't mean that we don't see it that way.
Right.
Meaning like, oh, there's certain times where you're doing right and other times you're not.
Yeah. And
When
how
it's
accurate is that?
when it's well, when it's all right, right? When it's all right for whatever it is, just we just don't understand is the point to that, I think. Where we may not be able to see the connections just yet in some
Yeah.
like like I mean it's always a serving potential. And we create the connections to how we want it, or we keep it separated. And I think I think at the end of the day, that's where the biggest struggles come from is that we see everything as separate, meaning off the path.
Yeah. See, for me,
Right.
me believing is just watching the potentials grow. It's kind of fuel for the potential that you're looking at.
Then you're doing it on a higher level. You're observing.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's sometimes hard to keep your hands inside the boat, just observing, not trying to assist.
Yeah, exactly. When all it takes is 5 loaves and 2 fish to feed 5,000. And I think it's believing that makes the difference there. It's not a either or, it's a yes and. We talked about this a number of months ago, Heinz, and I'm quoting from Napoleon Hill. He said that anything a human mind can achieve, can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So you take ABC and put it in reverse order. Conceive, believe, and achieve. So here we are in the middle stage, in the believe stage.
And as they say, the next 2 years will be a lot of action, so there'll probably be a lot of achievements.
Well, there'll be, there'll be a lot of that kind of thing, but yeah. A lot of it'll be attempts to save the status quo, all mixed in with a lot of people that don't want the status quo anymore. So there'll be a lot of confusion as to who's doing what and why.
But everyone sees themselves as being right and they can't be wrong.
Right,
Instead
right.
of just seeing it as life going on.
Yeah, there'd be a whole lot of doing and not very much believing, is my point. And part of that is believing that we act on our own. As a separate unit, which is probably the biggest limiting belief that there is. The more I see these visions that I believe were given to me, the more I see that there's a whole heavenly host lined up to make it true. but I get to experience all that in first person.
Mm.
You know, that doesn't mean that I'm separate.
It means you're connected.
Yes, exactly.
It's just what other people makes us feel like we are separated from it. That's their job, trying to say, hey, you're wrong, you're separated from everything that they believe is the truth.
Yeah. Well, that's the prevailing belief in Western society, is that we're alone. We're alone in this, that we're personally responsible for everything.
And we are personally responsible, right?
Are we?
I don't know who else is.
Responsible to whom or for what?
Your life, my life, love, choice, conceiving, believing, achieving.
So who are we responsible to?
To ourselves.
Say again, Heinz?
To ourselves.
Mm.
To the greater good of everyone around us. If everybody took responsibility, there wouldn't be those problems that are. But everybody says, hey, it's not my fault. I just supply the weapons. I don't make war. No accountability.
Why do we put that kind of stipulation on ourselves?
Hmm.
What makes us think it's even necessary?
I've not seen it as a stipulation. I see it as potential, as an opportunity. What do I care for? What do I love? What do I want? What's important? What's the values? What are we connected to? If we're connecting, if we're aligning, we've got to have, as Heinz says, that there's points. There's got to be points to know what we're connected and aligned to, which I think comes to the belief as well.
And we're creating the possibility for change by realizing it starts with ourselves.
Well, that's all we can.
Yep.
Yeah, it seems to me there's a lot of assumptions inside that argument.
I don't know. I choose not to see it as an argument.
It's those beliefs. If you didn't believe it was going to be a better world, then you wouldn't put in the time of day to try to change it.
And I'll even go smaller, Heinz, and rather than the world is like the self, myself,
Yeah.
my life, my one contribution.
And then other people would say, hey, Have you seen Jesse, how he's changed? I want that change too. It's leading by being a good example.
Or if they say, I don't want to do that.
Mhm. It's all about choices.
I think since it comes to the authentic aligning, like what authentically aligning to love, which is to our heart. So authentically aligning our heart in a world that has not created that possibility.
Mhm.
Better yet, it's not it's not the automatic, as best I can tell in my world. To be authentically and to align to our passions, purpose, power, and peace goes against the structure that people that is in the foundations of our society, that of where I see it, which is the United States. You would call it culture. And the only way is because I can see how I thought of things, and then I can see how I think of them as differently now, but still progressing, still transitioning.
Does your heart require responsibility?
You know,
Or could it be something more like alignment?
Mm.
No, I would probably something more than that. The heart doesn't require responsibility because the heart just is. The heart is like the heart is what is aligned to, so it's the points to align to. So the responsibility for me, how as I see it, is to align to the heart. Responsibility or opportunity, call it either way.
Mm.
Responsibility has got such a negative orientation to it for some people because it's an avoidance. And that's just history. That's just an experience to it. Responsibility can be an obligation, and people don't like obligations either.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it depends. If it's all about changing behavior,
Or if it's all about aligning to love, like who wouldn't want that?
yeah, it's a whole different paradigm and a different MO.
Well, yeah, as you said, in a world that is afraid of changing, is afraid of something different. That's
Right.
just the structure that's the fantasy, if you will, or that's the belief that we have. doesn't make it true,
There's the B word again.
right? Yeah, that's what we've been focusing our conversations on.
Yeah.
And I mean, we believe something and don't even realize we believe it. That is what I call an automatic.
Yeah.
If we do something or experience the outcomes and can't understand why. Why did it happen that way? And yet we'll keep doing it. And so much of it, right? Seeing the outcome, or then better yet, the expectation of the outcome.
Yeah, rather than alignment.
And rather than and believing.
Yeah.
The expectation of believing. Oof.
You know, the biggest challenge I have with current reality and desired reality is it's very easy to make desired reality an expectation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If only, then how many times don't we say that? If only that happens, then
Or that we want things to happen a certain way. So we hijack our heart's desire for an expectation or with an expectation. I've been doing a lot of looking back on my life lately. And there's very, very, very many cases where I realized that I really wouldn't have wanted things to happen that way. But the other side of that is my heart knew best.
And if they didn't happen that way, you wouldn't have gotten to where you are.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's another way of saying exactly that. And with, that with the wisdom and everything is part and parcel of that. I wouldn't be the person I am had things not happened the way they did. There's another way of saying that. Another way of saying that is trusting that my superconscious knows what it's doing. Whether the rest of me can see it or not.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe. This morning we're talking about engaging with believing.
Ooh, engaging with believing.
Yeah, like fully engaging with it.
Oof. Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me, there's one thing saying divinely abundantly aligned, but then it's really, really believing it. So thank you guys. Great to be here. I love you all.
Yeah, there's a huge pressure on us to jump into action quickly. And we're just exploring if stopping to engage with belief makes any difference.
Well, I'm noticing like the more I choose to believe, like the bigger my smile gets.
Mm. Are you saying it's pretty fruitful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, Joe.
Hello, Jesse. I think it's really important to believe. Believe even when you don't know how. Superpower, does
Yeah, belief is the engine that pumps up the potential.
Oof. Yeah, I'd prefer to increase belief than focus on doubt.
I can, yeah, I can go with that. I'm just thinking about what do we believe is always there. So even in the doubt is a belief.
Yeah. So is belief a spectrum as well then?
Well, of course, it's like everything it is. And that's part of like what as we speak about belief, we're always speaking of the positive, expansive side of it, which, if it's neutral, if we believe that we are not good enough or we can't do it, that's a belief just as much as we can. Our beliefs create the realities.
Even when you don't believe, you believe that you don't believe.
It's not like we get out of it, right? Or like we're not in it or always in it.
Yeah, so another way of putting it is if your core beliefs don't change, then you're going to keep kind of getting what you get.
Yeah, and also like preconceived beliefs can can literally edit your reality up to
Yes.
50 up to 50. You edit your own reality, okay? And this came up as a post yesterday, right? Where they had these women and they were going in to get an interview, but before they did it, they said that they were going to scar the face and like disfigure the face to see how it affected their interview. But they didn't let them see the mirror, and they actually didn't do anything to the face. But then when they come out there and they give their experiences, they were like, "Oh, he said this about me, he said that about me," but it was all edited with the preconceived beliefs. Oh my days, yeah, but that's it. That's
See, that's an example of how it has so much effect on our reality, and I'll call it our little reality, the small r reality, like our reality, even though, and that had influence on the outcome, significant influence on their perception of the outcome.
yeah, it's powerful.
I assume the survey, like the ones that came out of there, had an overall negative experience to a belief that something happened when nothing did.
Yeah.
You see how that belief changes the potential and possibilities that they had.
Yeah.
Now, does it mean like that was the way that it was supposed to go in their life? I would say yes. I mean, like, was that the right path for them? I can't say that it isn't. Like, why? How do we think we can? Because we can't change decisions we made. We can just change our perception of them.
Yeah.
And both have can have big impacts on our little reality. So as we're focusing on authentically aligning with, to, and for love, in the sense, that's the conception that is conceived. And then Craig took it a step deeper. It's like, oh, what's the belief? Like believing that, which means we'd have to look at what was before that and what's after that. What do we, if that's not, if we were living that all the way, we wouldn't have it. It wouldn't need to be a conception.
What just came up for me right now is the question, what does love believe? Or what could love believe? And this is profound. Guilt is just a false belief.
False evidence appearing real.
And it's just, I mean, love's just a word. And it's a different word that's spelled the same, has different meanings to everyone in the world.
when David Icke took ayahuasca, he had repeatedly saying when he was talking to the moon like you do, and he just constantly kept repeating, all you need to know is infinite love is the only truth. Everything else is illusion.
And then the question, like after that, is like, oh, that's David Icke had an experience that probably changed his life around that because he's been able to repeat it. Meaning repeat it, meaning like he speaks it.
But I think it's coming from the experience, though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And would you say it changed his life as he speaks about it?
Yeah.
So he believes it.
It's probably like, because it goes beyond belief eventually, doesn't it? It goes into knowing.
Mm.
Is belief a step toward knowing?
Mm-hmm. An upgraded knowing, right? Like we thought it was a certain way one day, and then the next day it's like, oh, we will see it a little different. Or completely different. That's what I hear that experience was like.
You allow knowing to inform your beliefs.
My friend Alan says that a good way to see belief systems is actually just safety systems.
Mm-hmm.
So we believe what
Safety
we
from what?
Well, like if I step on this water, I'm going to drown.
Okay. Not in a mud puddle.
Well, not in a mud puddle, but we're talking about walking on the water, right? I mean, seriously, there was a storm raging.
Here, what came to me there was like, as like if calm waters matter.
Yeah, yeah.
Good to hear you laugh, Jess.
Well, it kind of changes the belief quotient, doesn't it?
Well, like why? I don't understand why it does. Mhm. I mean, I got it. We believe that we could do it on a calmer day a whole lot more than a rough storm day. You can tell my level of belief. Now, do I believe a metaphor? Oh, without a doubt, I believe I can accept a metaphor version of it, yes. But I also can't. Could it? Yeah, it could be too.
Wouldn't it be easier in
And
stormy weather? Actually, just stand still while the wave comes and then run downhill.
It's that damn thing is like, oh, now if I saw it, then I'd believe it, right? If I saw it, then I would believe it. And I don't know if I wouldn't anyway. I don't think. I mean, eventually you do, but yeah, that's our system at work. And like as I say it, it's like and we believed that the world was flat. Like there's so much that we thought it appeared a certain way and found out that it wasn't. That's the danger of being so fixated on being right. And I know it's in my culture and my background and my belief that it's a it's a hard one to completely let go of.
There's a lot of messages I've channeled that have changed my beliefs because something came out of my mouth that I didn't believe when it came out. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden I go like, oh, wow, thank you.
Hmm. And there's humility in that, like versus like fighting for what you said. It's like there's versions of it, and I think you probably, I think we all come from it, right? That there would have been a time where we would have dug in and fought for it, fought for the old way, resisting the new way or the new message, resisting the channel.
And it's like non-attachment as well,
Hmm.
which is huge. Um, like in regards to teachability index, high willingness to learn, high willingness to accept change. If you've got high willingness to learn but not accept the change, then nothing's really going to change. If you want things in your life to change, you're going to have to change things in your life. And when we're attached to certain beliefs, that's holding us where we are. But we can change them by, yeah,
Creating new beliefs.
more productive, upgraded, beneficial, more ecological in the sense of rather than have two sides against you, one wanting to do it and the other not, bringing them all together.
And at the end of it, like our experience here is all in a duality. It's one or the other, or it's one and another. So I say love. Love is the and.
Mm,
Yeah, for me, love provides the open space.
Mhm. Love is expanding, it's opening. For you, it's great. I agree. I accept. I see it that way too. I see that's what and does. Because it allows you to have it and mine and me to have mine. And I think, well, what's on the other side? What's on the opposite, the duality side of and?
stop.
To me, it's what?
Stop.
Yeah, but is on the other end of and for me,
And nice, yeah.
which is a no, right? Which is whatever we want to come up with. Like it's everything other than love.
Or it could just be love protecting itself.
Hmm. I think that's what all safety's about.
Yeah. So you believe something because, yeah, because it's.
Is there any need for love to protect itself?
There's a belief that it does. And like the word,
No, I don't think love needs to protect itself. It's kind of got an auto defense.
we have put an auto defense around love because we have the definition of what love is to us.
Yeah. We've limit. Yeah.
And I mean, so there's no need for it, Craig, but we went for it and we got hurt. I mean, this is development. This is human. This is the human journey.
Yeah, so there's a core belief right there.
Without it, that's for sure. Why? Because we experienced it. We went for what we wanted, and others told us that we couldn't, or we got in trouble, or we got hurt because we did it. And we said, "Oh, I don't want to do that again." That keeps us, that it begins to train us to stay away from our authentic self, our heart, our truth, our love, our passion, our joy, our peace. It's like all of a sudden, boom, oh, we can't go that way. Why is that? We got laughed at or ridiculed or in trouble or whatever, right? And it happened more than one time. And we kept looking for it because we didn't know any different. That's the safety, that's the protection, I think. It's like what as it becomes the belief. I mean, that's how I imagine it could have happened. You know, because it all happened before we had a real vocabulary of all of our emotions, a real vocabulary of how the world worked, a real understanding of all the shit people are in. And we decided to believe others were ourselves. Say love has all the answers. It's just whether we're listening. Because we believe something. I mean, I don't think life exists without believing something.
You're not going to take a step if you don't believe you have a foot to step with.
Yeah, you're not going to take a next breath.
I shared a movie clip. I'll share it into the group. It's latest Disney movie, and like there's like a valley they've got to cross, and there's like two characters, and one of them's like holding onto a rope, and the other one's got to walk across the valley. But he puts his first step and he falls. That's why he's got a rope attached to him. But then the other guy's like, "No, you got to believe. You got to believe." And then he believes, and he's like, and then this like step appears, and then he believes again, and it's like, and the moral is like believing with every single step holding that belief.
Yeah, and I'm discovering that's a learned skill with a lot of
Yeah.
missteps thrown in there.
And then what we do is so I mean, just watch watch this. It's like, oh well, now I believe, and then all of a sudden, what does appear in a stare, right? And so we run through our lives looking for that stare to appear. Hollywood had to put it in there so that we could see it. Right? So we go through our lives waiting for that quote to see it, the expectation. I mean, so much of that seeing is believing, right?
Yeah, that's the conundrum.
Mhm.
Yeah, but is it seeing is believing, or is it
No, it's,
believing?
yeah, that's my point. Yeah, it's
Yeah. I don't believe it unless I see it.
right. I mean, it. I'm not saying that you got to see it, but yet we do, right? We do need to see it for us to believe it, but we have to believe it to see it. Yet we want to be able to see it before we believe it. I mean, it's ugh.
Yeah, and you're not going to see it until you put some
You
weight
go
on it.
through it. That's right. Till you experience it, go through it, and look back, and then you see it a whole different way. Fuck, that's one of the hardest things there still is. Yeah, that's why I don't know if I got this right, but it just came to me is a faith is without the belief.
Hmm.
Probably why they call it blind faith.
Yeah.
Isn't there a quote in the New Testament that says seeing without believing is dead? Or no, faith without believing is dead. Something like that. So believing is pretty important.
And it's probably everything that creates our reality.
Are you talking, guys?
We are.
Yes.
And there's all sorts of different flavors of believing, degrees. Got us now, Joe?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Good.
I mean, it's awareness is always a good starting point, and so we could be aware of let's say so our words for today, right? Is we can do we how much do we believe we're living an authentic life? The only way to gauge it is to give it a number, to give it a percentage, to give it a range.
I really don't understand what you just said.
One to 10, how well are you? 10 being that you're living your fully authentic life every day, every moment, 100% of the time. How much are you authentically living your life? That was what I questioned. That would be the place to be aware.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you could say, how much is my life? Am I living in love, in the word love, right? Because all that is, that reveals the belief. It's one way to reveal the belief.
The way I see that as well is, with your wishes, your command. There's also another talk, and it's called knowing the score, and he talks in that about literally like being able to move the score literally with the power of your mind. And the example he gives is if you were to be looking at a graph, if it was, for example, a business thing, and you were looking at like the sales coming in, he was saying just by like looking at that gauge and knowing the score and focusing your attention on it and just seeing it going up. Yeah. So if you were to do that with this question of how, on a scale of 1 to 10, much are you living your truest, most authentic life? If I was to say, all right, cool, I'm probably at about a 3, yeah, then just by knowing that score, because like if it's like going to a football match and not knowing the score. So it's like you don't know like whether you need to be attacking, defending, like whatever. So that having that importance of knowing that score and that gauge is something to be focusing on and to be, growing. So like just by having that number of how authentically living I am, I'm taking that as the score, as like, because there's important scores. We don't have to keep score of everything. There's just important scores we do need to keep of. And like that would be a good one. Do you know what I mean? Like how authentically living am I? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
We change what we focus on, right? I mean, it's whatever we put our focus on, right? And that's what I hear, Joe, and I hear it's like, yes, everything in life that way would be better, even if we don't know what that is right now.
And to be able to relax in that not knowing, but no, it's just going to be fantastical.
I mean, if you just look at the core 4, right? Core 4 is one that you'll love. You're going to love your life, love your life. So there's love your life, health, right? Health, power, you're powerful, yeah, and a predominant creator. Maybe I missed one in that, but and so it's like pulling the ones like it's all about the focus. The focus is the belief, or the focus develops the belief. And belief creates the possibilities, the potential, the space.
Do you reckon with like the framework we learn in Magnetic Mind? Because I reckon there is some good structure in there to be taking people on that journey.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's structure, and it's structure. What do you want? I love my life, right? Health and vitality, predominant a powerful creator and live my true, there it is, my true nature and purpose, you know? Like what else is there to like for so many people think there's so much more to life than just those four to focus on. So if you think about all your energy, if all your energy is focused on 4 or 4,000, which one are you more likely going to experience?
Mm.
That's a powerful structure. Because you don't have to understand it, but you do have to believe it.
And as soon as we think we do understand it, we stop learning.
Yeah, it's a problem with understanding.
So then there's understanding, but when you understand, then it's like you're standing under. So then there's inner stand, there's overstand. Like that's why when they say to you, like, you're under arrest, you understand, and you say, yeah, you're standing under their authority. But then that's it. To just have that knowing that, like, we never truly get it, we're always getting it and getting it, then that's going to keep, yeah, we're going to be satisfied with what we've got, but then also curious and open to more.
Yeah, can you believe it without understanding it?
Yeah.
Understanding
And can
and
you
knowledge.
increase your belief?
Understanding and knowledge are two different things.
Yes, totally.
If we think about information as we're familiar with it as a taxonomy, we're familiar with something, then as the more we become familiar with it, the more we quote understand of it, and then from understanding becomes knowledge, which is the capability to act. So that it's like knowledge with the capability to act. We acknowledge what we understand, but then with the knowledge, we see that there's so much more to learn. And so then we become familiar again, right? Familiar, understanding, knowledge, familiar, understanding, knowledge, familiar, understanding, knowledge. And it's just everything in life is a cycle until we stop it.
Knowledge is knowing how to do something. Wisdom is doing it. Building top of it is why use it. Wisdom for knowledge.
Yeah, it seems to me that the whole thing about I must see it to believe it has to do with understanding. Understanding whether or not it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not realizing that your understanding is limited.
Mm-hmm. And a protective mechanism, right? And protection.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, because that's it. They might not want to believe it because they don't want to be let down. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to believe this is going to happen, but then if I believe it and it doesn't happen, that's why it's like. But that's also that lack of belief is also creating that, to fall through.
Yeah, cycle, right?
But then if we don't believe it, that means it might not just be aligned with us in all areas, superconscious, conscious, unconscious. That's not got that coherence.
Even could be that the expectation is off.
Mm.
I mean, right? If we were to cross that valley and take a step, right? And I lost my train of thought.
Isn't expectation just a need to understand the outcome before it happens?
That's right.
So I'll only accept an outcome that I can understand.
Yeah. Or I would expect a stair to show up when in reality there's another way around the valley, right? So it's what's the end result that you want, and the expectation limits what's possible.
This brings up like something that came up on a call where Alan was saying, like, if you take out expectation, then you take out so much pressure.
Yeah.
If you're doing this and expecting that, it's just like it's constrained straight away in it. So just letting go of that.
Yeah. Yes. And expectations mean it can only show up one way.
And we're not that clever to know how it's going to show up.
As much as we want to think we are.
Yeah.
You are exactly true, Joe. And then we don't create any other ways for it to show up. Don't allow it. Right? I mean, you think about just even in Disney, you think about all the ways that if they wanted to get across the ravine, which is what I heard their intention was, all the ways they could have created them to get across that. And rather they put steps there. Like, okay, why?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what life is for us, right? That's where we're wanting to go. But so many people don't believe or don't look at where they're going. That's the core four. That's why the core four are so important.
He mentions that in Think and Grow Rich. Like, he's talking about the difference between like some next level banker and the guy that's selling peanuts is that like one of them's actually spent some time to think about like where and what they want to do. And the other one's kind of
well, he might be wanting to plant a peanut orchard.
yeah. But taking that time to actually think, like when we go shopping, write a list. And then something else Alan said was like, when you think about the who you want to be, all of the what and the how and all that just automatically falls into place. So it's like what identity, how do you want to identify to yourself? Who as? And then the what and the how and the where and all that just comes from that. Has anyone here had like much success with doing like EFT tapping? Does anyone like to do that?
Yeah, I do it.
What do you do? How's it?
There's a whole course that's tied to human design that does that.
Really?
Yep.
So did that come before, or did it come from
No, it came from.
Roger Callahan, or from?
Well, actually, no. This lady is one of the leading human design teachers in the world. She's been doing tapping for like 20 years or so, and so she integrated it into her human design courses.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So like, what's her process? Is it the same tapping points? What are you saying as you tapping?
Yeah, she's modified the language, but that's kind of her specialty, is to modify the language. So I'm not surprised that that's what she's done. But yeah, I think it starts top of the head, eyebrows, temples, under your eyes, under your nose, chin, and chest, which is thymus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's extremely powerful. Like the way it's releasing that like stuck energy.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to like learn that process, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like instantly feel like the relief and the peace. And it literally is because of that I felt that I got onto Magnetic Mind. Do you know what I mean? But then like I got focused with that. But now I'm coming around back full circle to that, to the tapping,
Well,
because it's literally like that is a big key that was taken out of Think and Grow Rich that Henry Ford wanted removed, that you can release this old stuck energy, because that's when the magic happens in your life.
Yes.
When the light ball of energy overtakes the dark ball, yeah, and the dark ball's been built up. But that's what I feel like the beats do as well. They kind of like unravel away at that, you know. But then obviously up top, combined with the tapping, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not too crazy, is it? It's not like it's not too much out of people's belief.
No.
And you can feel it instantaneously.
So what do all three of those things, what do all three of those things have in common?
Which three things? Tapping,
Binaural beats, and I don't know, what other one did you refer to?
Human design.
I was thinking about, I thought there was three, but either way.
I think it's all about unraveling and releasing the dark, stuck energy that's like magnetically pulling in all the bullshit, which is a big thing. Like they don't mind us learning about what we want and focusing on what we want, but we diverted from releasing the stuff that's attracting the bullshit in his life, you know. So I think it's about releasing the stuck energy that is unconscious to us, that there's not really many methods or like understandings or understandings of how to release it, because so it's all about feeling good. It's all about helping people feel better.
Is it the process or is it our intention?
The intention first.
And so is it the process or is it that we do it? Like, is it the process that releases it or is the intention of releasing it? Like, which one would you say does it?
Well, the process is when the actual shit happens.
Say
Or is
both.
that what you believe?
Yeah.
Well, that's how it looks.
There you go.
That's
There
how
you go. But
that's
all
how it
three,
feels. But without
all
the
of them are
intention, you won't
different.
get to that point. Without the intention, you won't get to the process. Without the belief, you won't.
That's right. Now, but
Or
then we
someone
put all
else's
of our
belief.
belief in, but then we put all of our belief in the processes and we keep paying for the processes.
But then if the processes are something that, like, if eating's a process, like, then we're not making people dependent. Like, this is stuff that they can do themselves in their own time. It's just like eating. It's just
Exactly.
another tool to feel good. Like, you eat to feel good, you drink to feel good, you tap to feel good. But it's not, the power is in us. Like, the power's in, yeah.
That's the key. That's
But
the
it
key
just so
to it.
happens that it's a powerful process.
Those processes are like help people believe, without a doubt.
But it's like tapping it. So it's like it's tapping and it's letting the energy do its natural flow. So
That's what
you're
they
just
tell you.
enabling
That's
your
what they
body to
tell you.
function.
That's what they tell
But it's
you.
like,
It's
that's
how is
if
the
you imagine
recode
it
any
like,
different?
but if you imagine it like, because you're tapping on the meridians, on the energy pathways, that, like, they've only just, like, scientists have only started saying, yeah, they actually exist. Yeah, when they've denied it for however how long. But, like, the proof's in the pudding, in the experience, in the results. If you do a group without tapping and then with tapping, but then all that's happening is you're tapping and enabling your body to function at its natural state, so it can feel good, and energy can flow rather than be stuck.
Yeah, for me, it's all about a combination of the two. Like, that's why I like Magnetic Mind, is that it talks about creating your future and bringing your desires into reality and all that kind of stuff, which is really, really good. But I don't know very many people that don't have a lot of conditioning to work through. And there's so many things that do that. Like everything from Ho'oponopono to tapping to, go into a shrink, to all that kind of stuff. Some of them are really effective. Some of them aren't. But I think that depends on the person too.
I'm back.
I think it's fascinating that it all comes down to what we believe.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, this has been really fruitful today. Just realizing that belief is right at the center of everything.
That's right.
I mean, deconditioning is about examining your beliefs and why you have them and where they came from and whether they're valid or not anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And and I don't disagree. Releasing the stuck energies without a doubt. I completely agree with that. I just am fascinated with all the ways to do it.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's like the thing is though, like that came from Kevin Trudeau, and he's tried thousands of things, and he's like that is one monumental way out of everything he's tried that actually does that. And then if you take that back to it being more powerful than the Sedona method, and the Sedona method's been proven to actually release this energy, and this energy actually holds mass. It actually holds mass. There's actually mass to it. Like feeling low is heavy, feeling light is, I mean, it's different, and it's releasing that. And then there is another thing as well that, like, apparently is really good for getting clear. And like there's apparently, like, when there's a lot of controversy around something, it's meant to be like really good. And like, do you know, like in Scientology, like what they do there in the clearing process, like when they're taking people through, they're clearing them. I mean, I've looked into like some of the things that they do, and it is pretty crazy. Like I've heard that, like, they'll put you in the room and they'll just have people in front of you and they'll just be like giving you like abuse, and they try to trigger you and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, they're like, it's all to like make you like kind of like triggerless and unable to be affected and triggered by outside situations. But like, yeah, that's also meant to be quite an interesting process. Do you know much about that, Craig?
Yeah. I've tried about 1,000 things myself too. And the conclusion I've come to is that certain things are going to work for me and they may not work for you.
Yeah,
I think that's very individual. I mean, that's how I came across listening to binaural beats and doing jigsaw puzzles. Because I know I'm deconditioning by doing that. And I can tell by paying attention to how the tension in the muscles in my body are changing.
And how we can do it just in a conversation.
Well, yeah, that too.
That's what every morning here is.
Just by bringing attention to it makes a difference.
It's all the difference. The intention is all that matters.
Would you say that there is only certain levels that talking can go, though?
No, all of them include talking.
It again depends on our beliefs.
But it's like when we're talking on a conscious level, that's like when we're doing shifts unconsciously. I'm losing myself. Yeah. Well, that's the whole point about, like, because therapy's like talking, but then when we're doing like the super conscious shifts and the unconscious shifts, that's going beyond where words can go, and it's going more into the deeper depths.
Unless you've been there, you don't need it. Like, unless you've been there, you don't need to keep doing it. So there's two different people we're talking about, Joe. It's like we're talking about people that have experienced it, that can talk every morning and experience the shifts that happen, right? And then you're talking about someone new that hasn't stepped foot that far yet. that doesn't believe it, that doesn't see it, that doesn't understand that that they're being conditioned and trapped and contained in their own beliefs. And it doesn't believe they're powerful. And yes, you need a process to, quote, wake people up to it. So talking doesn't work in that sense.
But the talking leads up to the experience, and the experience brings the shift.
And talking brings the experience into existence. So I mean, it's
Mm.
not to argue with you, but talking, all of the process involved talking. Because you've got to build the experience, you've got to build the expectation, you've got to build what people are to experience so that they can have the experience.
Mhm.
It's just, what fancy words do you use? What techniques do you tap? I mean, but all of the reason, like, there's meaning behind all of them that people believe or they don't. And it only works for those that believe it. Fascinating, isn't it? Oh, so why does it
And
work
even
for
when
them
it
and not
doesn't
for
work,
them?
even when it doesn't work, it's still working to what they believe. So it's always what they believe anyway.
Yes.
If you think you can, I think you can't. Either way, you're right. It's the thinking that
Either
makes it
way, that's
so.
right. That's right.
That's
That's
the
right.
best thing we can work on changing our thinking. What thoughts are we drinking?
Mm.
Upgrading the thoughts,
Yeah.
upgrading the DNA, and letting go of the old dense energy. Like that is that is a fire combination. Releasing the old stagnant energy, remembering who you are, getting clear on where you want to go, and who you want to be, and flipping doing that in a community. Do you reckon together we could make like a cool guide for the frequency revolution? Like I'm thinking of doing an offer for the frequency revolution. I'm thinking of like came to me yesterday, a guide to the frequency revolution. You know what I mean?
Hey, before we get off on that, I just want to insert something that's really important. Okay, you can clear a whole lot of stuff, but if you leave a vacuum there, if you leave an empty space there, it just gets filled up with the same old crap.
Thank you. Yes. So that's it.
So you gotta replace it.
Thank you.
You know, that's where magnetic mind comes in,
right? That's it, because that reminds me of a story where the guy cleared out his kitchen. So he put everything out, and if you imagine your kitchen and everything is like your thoughts and your emotions, he took it all out. But if he didn't replace it, then he'd be like, all right, bring that table back in, bring that chair back in. And before you know it, you're stuck with the old junk. So that's it. So when you're taking it out, having that replacement, that upgrade, and filling that void and just pouring infinite love into it. Tapping into that.
Well, Joe, is like, I love frequencies, but how I work with frequencies is I always like to make things as simple as possible.
Oh
Simple
yeah,
as possible that
simplicity is key.
applies to everything.
Mm, yeah, and I think that's what I like when it comes to it. But it starts off complex, and the more you go into it, the simpler it gets. Or maybe not. But simplicity is key. Keeping things really simple.
And so what are the simplest frequencies?
Gratitude, appreciation, authenticity, forgiveness, happiness. But then also, by putting attention and energy on the fear, that's actually monumentally powerful as well, especially if you're shifting it and releasing it. It's so good
Yeah.
focusing on what we love, but then if we've got loads of what we don't love, then
Yep.
so that's how I
Good.
see it now when I'm tapping. It's like if I'm feeling something, I just see it as fear.
Mhm.
And it's like I'm dissipating that fear,
That's
just
right. You're
keeping it
calling it.
simple.
You're aware, so you're identifying it. Whoop. Yep, there it is.
And the
Now,
more fear I can
fear.
shift, the quicker I can do what I want to do. But it's fear that's holding me back.
That's right. And so replace the fear with the love, the joy, the expansion.
Yeah,
So back to my question, what is the simplest frequencies is positive, negative, and neutral.
yeah,
At the end of the day, if we could identify either emotions, thoughts, feelings, situations, whatever, as positive, negative, and neutral, we've identified them. Which ones do we want and which ones don't we want? Same thing. So when I hear frequency, I replace it with I work with it as a charge, like a charge. How am I charged? And I mean, you think of atoms, that's all atoms are, right? Atoms are neutral, they're negative, and they're positive.
mm, yeah, yeah,
Aren't we
yeah,
just
yeah.
atoms in our simplest form? So that's 1D, right, of the atoms, the charge. What do I call the charge? Well, charges, what do atoms take up? Space. So our charges create the space. Oh, wow, that's deep and simple.
Mm, yeah, nice.
And then our space is always like what, and then the other fundamentals that I think of our reality, if we had three dimensions, one being a charge, the other one is how we think about time, past, present, and future. Now, time, each one of those times has a charge to it. So they're now they become entangled. So ultimately, with frequencies, that's all those are the two things that are most important that have people step into change the very first time. All frequencies can come from that. I just don't think people are aware of it.
All frequencies, what?
What All frequencies come from that, I think is what I said.
Oh, okay.
And that people just aren't aware, right, of their frequency, which is the whole point of why these different things, like, is, I think, everything is about awareness. And awareness steps into the belief. And the belief, for me, like how I hold belief, is what shapes the being. It shapes how we're being, who we're being, what we're being, how we are being in the world. And how we're being, you know, it all comes down to our charge. Positive charged, or are we negative charged in our life? Is your life positive or is it negative? Last 24 hours, have you been more positive or more negative?
Yeah, no, I've been leaning onto the positive side.
Yeah. How about 10 years ago?
You know what? I think I've always been positive.
There you go. I haven't.
There's definitely times when I've not, when I've like got stuck in a slump. But I think generally just left to my own things. Yeah. But when I have been, but there's more growth in the negative.
Yeah, right. Which is why I think we invite it sometimes, right? Now, whether we struggle, like how long we struggle with it, now that's a whole nother conversation.
Mm.
Really, it's just information, and we want to struggle with information. That doesn't make any sense at all. It's our conditioning, right? It's the conditioning. It's that protection. It's that fear of. Just, it's our truth. It's our reality. It's what we believe. Shapes so much of our reality.
My phone's going to run out of juice, guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna get off now, Mumskins. I love you, all right?
So
All
it's
right,
been
guys.
wonderful.
Have a great time.
Thank you.
Great being with you. All right.
11 hugs.
Till next time.
Great morning.
Big
Thanks,
love, you
kind.
too.